Today's video, I'm going to be doing something a lot different than our normal review, so I'm using my GTR as a test. We'll get into the video in just a second. If you're watching today's video, leave me a comment, please. Whether you like it, love it, or hate this video, leave me a comment and give me some feedback on what you think. We're going to do kind of a different style of review of a car and see how it goes. So today we're going to take a look at the 2014 Nissan GTR. This is my personal car. I owned this for almost 4 years now. So of course this comes standard with a 3.8 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine mated to a rear mounted 6-speed dual clutch transmission, and it is all-wheel drive. We have a massive set of Brembo brakes. We get 4 pistons in the back with these huge ventilated and drilled rotors. And then if we take a look at the front, these are even larger 6-piston brakes up here. And of course the same type of rotor. Very, very high performance car. Bone stock 0 to 60 time is rated around 2.5 seconds, and top speed is around 196 miles an hour, maybe 200 with a nice tailwind. So if we take a look at the exterior, we have the traditional LED taillights, the beautiful round circles, super cool for any GTR. And then I have a lot of modifications. I have titanium exhaust tips, full bolt-on car, E85, so this is around 700 horsepower. Bone stock, it makes 545 horsepower. One thing I love about it, the trunk space, and you also have a button on the rear. If we open this up now, this is a really large trunk. I've used this for a lot of items. As you can see, we have a ton of space. Camera bag is tiny in here. You can fit luggage and pretty much do anything that you want in this car. So then if we go to the interior, the door handles, I still love that. Really cool design. And then this one does have the optional upgraded interior. MSRP on this car was around $105,000 back when it was new. You got the red on the entire door panel, genuine leather on the seating surfaces. The backs are fake leather, same with the rear seats, and this is all fake leather. But we have real leather here, steering wheel, shifter, beautiful interior. Then to take a look at the engine, we just pull that, and we can go around and pop the hood. This does have a prop rod. For a 6-figure car, you would think it would have some gas struts, but Nissan, of course, did not want to do that. So under here, we have the hand-built engine right in Japan. I cannot pronounce that name, but hand-built, beautiful motor. Got, of course, more modifications to it and everything. Definitely a really good-looking motor, and I love the red accents and the intake manifold. So if we go ahead and close the hood, we'll go hop into the interior now. All right, so within the car now, start button is right here. We'll fire it up. Air conditioning is on. Right here, we have your different drive modes: traction control, your suspension, and your transmission. Race mode, everything is really aggressive. Traction control lets you slip and lets you really rip on it without spinning out. This makes it a lot stiffer for suspension, and then the transmission shifts super quick. And then of course you can tone everything down and then even go into a comfort mode, which I drive in a lot. And then we just have basic climate controls, pretty old school. Of course, this car originally came out as a 2009 model year, so it's nothing crazy fancy. However, this screen up here is pretty awesome and was really ahead of its time. We have a lot of the different parameters within the engine that we can go through. Massive boost gauge. You can customize everything and really just get it to where you would like it. Whole bunch of things in here. I don't really use all the screens. I pretty much stick it on the one with all the different parameters. But it's pretty cool. You do have lap timers with a button right where it is, right here. You can mark it. You can start and stop it for when you are out on the racetrack. I was playing with it the other day just to figure out how it works, because I've never actually used it, but that is definitely cool. Then we have your gauges, old school analog. I love how the speedometer starts way over here, which is pretty neat. And then I have the digital one in the center. And with all the modifications, I have an active exhaust, so that was quiet mode. Then I can open up the valve, and this is 100% straight piped. It gets a lot louder. So pretty basic interior, like I said, very comfortable. I'll go ahead and shut it off. We do have back seats in this car, and I have used them many times for full-grown people. You have a little handle back here. You can lift it up, and as you can see, we have seats, seat belts, big speaker and everything. I love how you do get a cup holder, and this is the cup holder that I'll put my own water bottle in when I'm ripping on the car, because it stays nice and secure. These seats, if you're like 5'5" or shorter, they are extremely usable, and you can actually fit back here. Full-grown adults, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I can fit here. My head is just up against the glass, but for the sake of a supercar, and it has these kind of practicality in these seats, that is super nice to see. So I definitely like that aspect. So with that said, I guess let's go ahead and drive the car now. So fire it back up. Overall comfort, like getting into the car and everything, it's super easy to actually get into this vehicle. It definitely makes it a usable car that you can drive it every day. All right, so we're gonna get up and go now in the GTR. So as far as some basic comfort items, we have a nice leather wrapped steering wheel, really good thumb arches. It's a nice small wheel too, so I definitely like the way it feels. Visibility is really good. You really don't have any blind spots or anything like that. I definitely have no issues seeing around the car, and that definitely makes it a nice car to drive on the day-to-day aspect. Armrests are in a pretty good place as well. This one in the center is kind of far back, so it's not the most comfortable, but you can still get your arm there and be pretty comfortable in the car. You do have two more cup holders right here that actually slide away. That's a nice little touch. And then as far as road noise, this is not the quietest car out there. While my car is straight piped and of course modified, with the valve closed, it does have a massive muffler. So it still sounds like a stock car, but you do hear, I wouldn't say tire noise, but you hear road noise in general. There is a lot of drivetrain noise, which you'll hear in slow speed. But when you are on the highway, there's some noise to the car. It's still pretty decent for long trips. The interior technology, while this is an older school vehicle, you still have navigation and a backup camera and Bluetooth audio, which works very well. That's all I really need in a car. You don't get parking sensors until 2017 model year. But as far as normal driving, of course, it gets up to speed really well. And when you give it a little bit of gas, you can hear the turbos. Don't know if that'll come off on camera, but it makes a lot of good noises once you modify it. The bone stock car is a little on the more boring side. There's not really any noises that it makes, so it's a little toned down. But of course, once you mod these cars, because these cars just love mods, that's when they start really waking up. Braking feel is really responsive. The brakes bring you to a stop, and they're almost more impressive than the power. It literally rips your face off. I do have an upgraded set of pads. They're actually a downgrade in performance, but they don't make all the squealy noises that your stock pads are gonna do. They still work really good. I've been on the track and stuff, so no issues there. So just driving it now in quiet mode. Pretty comfortable car. I love these seats. These are really comfortable. They have a ton of padding to them, and being the upgraded leather seats versus the standard ones, which those might have real leather on them, I'm not too sure. These ones being full leather instead of having the suede, they just feel even more premium. And one thing kind of cool, some people may find it annoying, these they do squeak a little bit. When you push your back into them, you can feel the leather just squeaking a little bit. To me, I like that aspect because it gives it like that old school character, just that like patinaed leather or whatever you want to call it. So I like that aspect. There's a lot of character to the car, and I prefer the old school stuff rather than everything being like so perfect like a lot of new cars. So that's kind of it for normal driving. A pretty easy car to drive. You're gonna notice in slow speeds though, the transmission does have to engage and disengage. If you come up to a stop sign and you do not stop 100% to 0 miles an hour and at least sit there for a whole second or two, it's going to like clunk the drivetrain. When you then give it gas, it'll still be in second gear and it'll be a little clunky. So you gotta drive it as if it's a manual transmission. This is a very old school dual clutch. So it takes a little bit of finesse to it. You can't just drive it like an automatic, which I like that, you know, as the character. You will hear a lot of drivetrain noise, clicks and pops in the rear end. Sounds like it's braking a lot of times, so be cautious. And one thing I really noticed with this car, you don't accidentally buy a GTR. Nobody just stumbles upon one and picks one up as a daily because they think it's like a Mustang or something. You got to know what you're buying. You got to know that you're buying a pretty raw, old school supercar that happens to be very practical, which is something really cool. It's a pretty good blend of everything. So now let's play with some fun modes. We'll have a race mode for the exhaust, which will open up the valve and be 100% straight piped now. If I can get that back on. And then I'll go into manual, which you can either bump this over, or if you just hit a paddle, it puts it right into manual mode. The gear is up here and it'll say M or an A, which is pretty cool. And then we'll put all this into race mode. It tightens up the whole car. Transmission gets super quick when you are in race mode and manual especially. And my car, you know, making about 200 more horsepower than a stock car, it will get up to some speed. If you want to see more performance, I have a full POV launch control video down in the description. And that was barely touching the gas. And you can see just how quick it shifts when we're in the race mode like that. then if I tone everything down, that's the way I always do it, just to put us back into the comfort mode. As far as some other creature comforts, of course, we have your turn signal stalk and headlights on the left. Wiper blades are over on the right. Then we have mirror controls on the left, and these are power folding, so it is nice if you park it, you can manually close them and then reopen them again. One thing, the suspension, like I said, is very rigid, but the chassis itself is also super tight. So we hit some bumps back there. I don't know if you could notice, but the whole chassis, there's no flex in it. So every bump and like bump into the road, actually, the car doesn't flex around it. So you feel the road change, which I think gives you a lot of feedback for a performance car. And then even for being a daily driver, of course, in comfort suspension mode, that takes that edge off of the little bumps to where it is livable on the day-to-day aspect. So that's definitely cool how it is super rigid. The rear seats don't fold down at all because there is aluminum literally going across the whole back just to add to the rigidity. So there's no flex in the car whatsoever. And then as far as the exterior looks, I think it's a good, subtle looking car. It's not crazy in your face. You know, when I first bought this, I talked with some of my friends who were non-car people, and a lot of them said that when they look at this, they would think it's something like a Mustang or a Camaro, which of course those are cool sports cars, but they're nothing special. And it's nice that this car can fly under the radar. People don't look at it like a six-figure car. They look at it like a Mustang or a Camaro, just a normal, another sports car out on the roads. However, the car people, they know what this car is. They know it's a supercar. They know how crazy fast it is and all that stuff. So the fanboys and the enthusiasts, they will see this car, you know, take photos and things like that. So it gets attention, but it only gets attention from the people who you actually want to see the attention with, because those people, of course, are fun to talk to. You don't need everybody and their brother, especially at a Walmart or something like that, freaking out thinking you're some rich guy in an expensive car. I mean, I've taken this all over the place and nobody even looks at it, which is really good. Car shows, you know, people look at it, of course, because it fits in very well. But if you can get over the a little bit of noise you hear and then the drivetrain clunking, other than that, it's a pretty solid car overall. As far as the build quality, because this is a pretty old car at this point, there's still no rattles or anything in the car. Every now and then I might hear something over here rattle, but I'll just hit it a little bit. This morning that was rattling, and literally I just smacked it and it stopped doing that. But that was the only time that's ever rattled before. Other than that, I've never heard anything, nothing else creaks or anything like that. Door panels are nice and solid. Everything is holding up really well. So while this is a Nissan, and I don't think Nissan is exactly the best in build quality, the GTR, they really did take their time with it and make sure it's a high quality vehicle, especially charging you 6 figures for it. Obviously you're getting the performance, but the build quality itself still stands up. It might not have the most beautiful, luxurious interior ever, but the cars that do have that beautiful interior, like maybe a C63, that would be, you know, around the same price point, this car is way faster. So you do trade off a little bit, and again, being a Nissan, it's not a Mercedes or anything luxurious. You do, of course, have the shared parts, like these window switches you'll find on a Nissan Titan. These docks right here are on the 370Z. These paddle shifters are on the Z. These climate control buttons themselves are in basic Nissans, things like that. Everything up here is a basic Nissan part. So you have shared parts, but I don't find that to be an issue at all, just because you get supercar performance. I mean, I've smoked pretty much any car I've ever raced. The only cars that would really give a full bolt-on GTR a run are like McLarens and things like that. So especially for a car that is sub 100 grand on the used market, like a 2014 is, these are around 70 to 80 grand. Not too many cars can actually beat it. And even before I tuned this car, I raced a ZR1 Corvette that has 750 horsepower, and on the drag strip from 0 to 125, he couldn't even touch me. So, and that was this car stock with only 545 horsepower. So the all-wheel drive launch really gives this thing the edge in anything straight line. Bumpy roads, you feel everything now. Actually, let's make sure we're in race mode. There we go. There is some turbo lag, but I like that because the power never hits you in the face down low. You have to work up to the power. But it, of course, gets you to the speed you want to be going pretty darn quick. And with the all-wheel drive, it pretty much never loses traction. It always grips. Even in the rain, I can floor it. And if you're in the race mode traction, it'll let you spin, but it'll still maintain acceleration. And then if you have traction in the normal mode, it'll cut power a lot. So I like the different modes. It makes it very usable. But now that we are going, 60 miles an hour, the steering is much tighter. A little bit of input does a lot for the car. I guess another drawback, the car is around 3,800 pounds. There is a little bit of body roll at high speeds, so there's a little bit of the weight transfer. My brother's Audi R8 with the mid-engine and like 400 less pounds, you don't feel that at all. So it shows its weight a little bit when you're in the corners, especially higher speed ones. But honestly, it doesn't really feel that heavy. A lot of people sometimes give it crap for being a heavy car, but it really isn't the heavy car. It's nothing different than a Mustang or a Camaro. It's no Dodge Challenger, which those are boats at like 4,500 pounds. That is a boat. This car does not feel like that. It couldn't hurt to maybe upgrade the suspension just a hair, but I would say it's like 90% there. But yeah, nimble back roads, it's surprisingly good for being a bigger car. I've been on the mountains with this car quite a bit, and it actually handles a lot better than I expected. My Supra definitely is way better in the sharp turns, but nonetheless, the GTR does what it needs to do, and you have the power. Yeah, acceleration, it rips you back. So I think that's kind of what I was going to do for today's video. Like a structured review, but different. Hopefully I showed everything. I didn't really show too much of the exterior. I probably could have done a better job of that. I don't know what else I missed or maybe was too redundant on. Comment below, let me know what you think. If you've seen our legit review videos, we show the exterior of the car, we go over all of the specifications, we show the interior, like this cabin, the rear seat, the trunk, we'll show under the hood, and then we'll do about a 5 to 8 minute test drive, talking about what it's actually like to drive. So kind of turning that all together into one video in the POV, that way you can kind of immerse yourself into the car. I hope you enjoyed it. If not, if you hated the video, let me know. If you loved the video, let me know. If it was mediocre, let me know. And if you did watch the video, give it a thumbs up just to show that you enjoyed something different. So comment below, let me know what you think. And we can, of course, make more of these. I can do a test on the Supra if I get some good feedback on this video, and then try implementing whatever we learn on future videos. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video.